أعوذ بالله من الشيطان الرجيم بسم الله الرحمن الرحيم الصلاة والسلام على محمد وآله الطيبين الطاهرين. So basically what I'd like to do, or what we're doing in the afternoon classes, and this is a suggestion from Shanaz that she wants to carry on the same thing at night, is what I call a spiritual bank. And if you look at your screen, I've used the hadith of Imam Hussein. When he was told that they want to start fighting, he said, I just want one night's respite. And when he was asked, why do you want that respite? So this is what he said. He said, أنا أحب الصلاة وتلاوة كتابه وكثرة الدعاء والاستغفار. I love Salah, love to recite his book, lots of du'as, and I ask for forgiveness. Um, I'm going to preamble this so you've got it in your head why I picked this topic. Um, Middle of Ramadan, I woke up one morning and I couldn't move at all. I couldn't even go from my bed to the chair, so I was pretty ill. The only thing that took the pain away was morphine. So I didn't fast for the next 2 weeks. I was ill for 6 weeks and all the rest of it. Many of you might know it. But when I was on morphine, and when I was ill, I couldn't open a book or I couldn't look at a screen. In fact, I couldn't see a screen for 6 weeks, whether it was my phone or my computer. And the only thing that happened was, and this is my subconscious, it sort of transported me to Quran City or wherever it was. But at the end of the day, what came in use was what I had in my head, what was in my soul, whether it was the ayat of Quran or whether it was du'as or istighfar or whatever it was, whatever was there came. I couldn't look up anything. I couldn't hear anyone. I couldn't see anyone. And therefore, I thought that every human being in life goes through difficulties. And what you will remember is what is in your head. I also know my mother was never ill. And then when she did fall ill, she had cancer. My mother was one who fasted Muharram, the 3 months, Rajab, Shaban, Ramadan. She would fast every week. She would never miss Shab, nafilas, all the du'as, all the rest of it. But when she fell ill, she just wanted something small. So, for that reason, that was the reason of doing this, and to be able to explain to the children that anytime they had problems, anytime there was anything wrong in their life, they need to have a spiritual bank in their soul, which they can access, and that would come straight away. So, this is the reason for it, and I needed you to know that. So, a spiritual bank. You've got to start by explaining to them what a financial institution is. I'm not going to go into the Muharram bit. I was going to tell you, but maybe the first day, and I hope you make lesson plans for all your 9 days or whatever days you're doing. On the first day, you will give them the topic. You'll say it's about spiritual bank. You'll talk about the basis of marthiyas, mindil, which is their handkerchief, why matam, why procession, why ziyarat ashura, so on and so forth. What I will do is, if Shanaz can, or I can send it to Shanaz, I'll send her some notes that she can share with you about it, but that's not my topic today. Right now, we're going to talk about a bank. So when you talk about a bank, it's like a financial institution. It looks after your money. It allows you to withdraw when there's a financial need. So you deposit and you withdraw. However, when you need more, whether you need to buy a house or something extra, or you're in financial trouble, then the bank that you're registered with or you've got an account with will loan you some money. And that's what a spiritual bank is about. A spiritual bank is basically, you need to open an account first. So the first thing you will tell them is they need to recite and believe in the kalima. So you will go through usul. Usul is basically three: one God, divine guidance, and accountability. Imama and Nubuwa come in divine guidance, and they need to know this. Adala is part of Tawheed. We split it into five to make it easy, but in essence, there are three. They believe in one God. They believe in divine guidance and they believe in accountability. And that's exactly what happens in life as well. So, with this account, your first requirement is this: there no applications are rejected. Nobody's ever rejected, however old you are, however young you are. Now, to be able to have a relationship in a financial institution, you need to know the manager. And the more, how should I put it? The more funds you have, the more the bank will assign you a personal manager. In the same way, you need to build a relationship with the owner, who is Allah, and that is through Salah, and we'll come to Salah as well. The Salah, Quran, and Asma al-Husna, really, really important, and maybe you can stress that. And obviously, there's a need to build a relationship with the different managers, which is the Masumin. So they need to know about them, and that's basically what Muharram is all about. The advantages of this spiritual bank is that there's an open door policy, so it's open 24/7, 365 days a year. You can make transfers from dunya to akhirah, which is a beautiful part about a spiritual bank. There's no need of guarantors, and any member who is a signatory on the joint account can withdraw du'as. So to be able to tell them that it is good to have a mujibud da'wat, it is good to have a dua buddy, as I call it, a dua friend. So this is sort of an introduction to a spiritual bank. I know you don't have too much time, but it's a good thing to take them through that whole aspect. I've just cut corners and I'm going really fast, but I'm sure because you're young and you're awesome, I'm sure you will think of different ways of putting this spiritual bank forward. Now, if you look at the next one, it's Quran City. So the first thing is Quran. Now, you can go in order as to what the hadith of Imam Hussein is, because he went to Salah first, or you can go in this order. Whatever starts you off. I find that as I'm a Kojian, very proud to be one, but I find that sometimes we just pare, and I use that sentence very, very often. So with the children in particular that you are teaching, you need to be able to put the Quran as something that they use as guidance. Now, in the book and generally, I find what has worked really well is Quran City, but you don't have to go into it. You can do whatever way you want to be able to teach them Quran, but it's an understanding of Quran. Online, you will find a whole bunch of um, talks or that have been done by various people. Especially this year, we opened the Quran City exhibition in Toronto, so you will find other people who have related to it as well. You can talk about Makki and Madani chapters. I don't know how much time you have. You can talk about the road network of Quran City, which is the Masumin who actually teach you about each of the surahs. I find it has worked with all ages, whether you're young or old. And in your book, you will find on page 8, you've got some did you knows. And I think those are quite important if you don't do Quran City and you don't have time to do that. So 114 Surah, 86 Makki, 28 Madani, you might be able to go into that. Do they know what the Ain means? Now that Ain, we call it a makra, it's actually a ruku. And that particular ruku was put there, but when the Quran was sent to Bukhar, and the ulama there wanted to finish the Quran in Taraweeh. So we know that the Ahlul Sunnah pray 20 rakats in Ramadan. So 20 times 27 is 540. So they divided the Quran in 540 parts. And the reason why they called it ruku, I don't know why we call it makra, they called it ruku, was as soon as they finished that little bit, they would go into ruku. And that's how they pray. And it's good to talk about how different Muslims use different prayers. So the numbers on the ruku, on the ain, the top is the number in the surah, the bottom is the number in the juz, and the middle is the number of ayat in the Quran. It's all in the book. We'll make sure you have it, and I've sent you a PDF as well. A little bit about the Quran, the hadith of Rasulullah. Woe to those who recite the Quran and don't reflect on it. So it's not just a pare book as well. He says one who recites the Quran will be free from the need of everyone and everything. And recitation, I always tell them, is 5 things, 5 fingers. It's to read, to internalize, to understand, to apply, and then to manifest or to teach. They love words like GPS, which is the God Positioning Service. There are words like tatbir or tahakkuk, and again, you will find them in the book. Ayat that you can go into, the angels who brought it, so on and so forth. I said the other one was Asma al-Husna. The Prophet said, وَلِلَّهِ الْأَسْمَاءُ الْحُسْنَى. This is Quran, فَادْعُوهُ بِهَا. Allah has the best of attributes, call on them. So dua, the shortest dua is this. I go back to my mother, a woman who used to read so many du'as, finish a Quran in a week. When she was ill, she couldn't even manage anything. So she would say, teach me or talk to me about the smallest words that you can do. And I used to do Asma al-Husna with her. And that is why we produced a book that looks something like that. It's called Asma al-Husna. You can get the book, you can ask Fatim, or you can order it off the website, or you can see the PDF. It's entirely up to you. But the Prophet said, "Takhalluqu bi akhlaqillah." Adopt in yourself the akhlaq of Allah. Now, if you teach children at madrasa or wherever you teach them, The only way to be able to teach them akhlaq is through Asma al-Husna, because it contains all the words of Allah. It's absolute. You can use whatever you want. I mean, whatever name that you think works. I think the book is quite good. There are various talks we have on it that you can go on it. I don't want to go in each one, but each name is a dua in itself. And I'll pick you a few of my favorites. And I hope you like those. So one that I like to teach children is Jabbar. Jabbar, everybody's scared of, and Jabbar is number 9. Okay, so Jabbar is one who forces you to repair. He's like the plaster cast on a leg which puts bones together. Jibril comes from that word Jabr, which is algebra. They know algebra. Algebra comes from it. I'll try and send you some notes on this. Algebra comes from there. It's putting numbers together to be able to make a whole. And Jabbar is one who mends you, makes you whole. So if you look at Suratul 28, Qasas, and it talks about the story of Musa and how his mama had to throw him in the river, Allah says that we held her heart together. And that is what Jabbar does. Ya marrabat ala qalbi Musa is a sentence from Dua al-Mashlul, which talks about yuqabid. And you can talk about Musa and you can say how very often you need to hold your heart together and you continually say Ya Jabbar. The scholars used to say Ya Jabir al-Kasir, or one who puts together that which is broken. So I like Jabbar. I like Hayyul Qayyum, and we'll come to it hopefully. I like Dhul Jalali wal Ikram basically because when a man was reciting it, the Prophet said that, and he kept on asking for this dua, and the Prophet said, but the moment you say Ya Dhul Jalali wal Ikram, everything will be sorted. Why are you so worried? I talk about the 3 R's, which is Rahman, Rahim, and Ra'uf. Rahman is like the dentist, Rahim is like the hygienist, and Ra'uf is like the anesthetist. So Ra'uf is Rahma with no pain. So I like using Ra'uf. Imam is Baqir or Sadiq, one of the, it doesn't matter which Imam, because all of them say exactly what the Prophet taught them, tells his son that if you're in trouble, continually recite Ya Ra'uf, Ya Rahim. Now, if you got one child to call out those names when they are stuck, you've done it, you've made it. So that was a little bit on a small list. I mean, I can go on and on about it and not stop, but I don't want to do that. Okay, so next one is Salah. Salah is important. I mean, we've got a whole batch on the website on the A to Z of Salah. But just generally, a little bit about the importance of Salah. You've got to also keep in mind that you can never, as much as you tell children, until it comes from inside, it's not going to work. You can't force them to pray, but you can make them love Salah and tell them it's a connection. Even the shortest Salah is good. And if Imam Hussein said, Ana uhibbu Salah, I love Salah, talking a little bit about the times of Salah. Do they know the times of Salah? If it is in school, do they reach out and raise up their hands at the time of Salah? Because that's when du'as are accepted, so on and so forth. I don't have to say too much on it. I think you know enough about it. I love dua because that is what I feel takes us through everything. I was listening to Ayatollah Khamenei, and you probably have been listening to him all this time. And he says, for us, for anything in life, it is dua that changes destinies, that changes anything. Now, we've got some notes on dua that you can go on to, but I love the story about the child who was on her musalla praying salah when her grandfather happened to pass by her room. So he sort of stood near the door and he saw that the little girl had her hands raised in dua, and she just said alif ba ta jim ha kha, etc. And then the grandfather said, what are you reciting? And she says, I can't remember those du'as you're reciting. So I recited the alphabet, but I know Allah will put the letters together for me. So you could talk about Jabbar, how they can put, if they can't understand it, then listen to it and think about what you want, write it down, and he knows, he will put it together. There's etiquettes of dua in the book that you can see, like doing wudu, applying perfume, sitting towards Qibla, so on and so forth. But at the end of the day, this is a 24/7 spiritual bank. Anywhere, 24/7, 365 days a year. They can dua absolutely anywhere. But these are best times of doing dua and the best places of doing dua. You've got Arafah, you've got Masjid al-Haram, Masjid al-Nabawi, but more so the Farsh of Imam Hussein. So you can go about that. So the last one was istighfar. And ghafara is actually a helmet that covers. So istighfar was actually something that covers. Tawbah is different, but here Imam says istighfar. And you can tell them the story of Yunus. That's 2187. Now, these are all the du'as that I felt took me out of what I was in. So up to you. You can pick what you want. These are the ones we've picked. Love this one. This is known as a dua of desperation, which is absolutely amazing. Rabbini lima anzalta ilayya min khairin faqir. And you can talk about Musa, you can about the story about he kills a man in error because it's self-defense basically. He's trying to save someone, and then how he finds himself with Prophet Shuaib and how, what happens. He goes to Madain, he sits there, he's wandering in the desert, he arrives at Oasis, he sees the two girls, he gives water to the sheep of those two girls because no one is helping them. Safura and Safra as the daughters of Prophet Shuaib. Then he sits down and one of the girls comes back because she's talked to her father, so on and so forth. But this dua was recited by Imam Hussein on his way to Karbala. So connected to Imam Hussein all the time. But it's a beautiful dua. It's basically saying, just give me whatever little you can. I don't have anything. I'm absolutely desperate. For them to learn these duas, you've done it. You've made it. Then you've got, and this is my favorite one, by the way. And it was funny because yesterday I heard Sayyid Khamenei recite it as well. It's absolutely amazing. So you can talk about Prophet Musa, and this is where Ya Hayyu Ya Qayyum came in, and I thought I'd tell it to you. Easy to remember because 26, flip it over 62. So 26, 61, there's Prophet Musa, in front of him is the Red Sea, behind is Fir'aun. The Bani Israel tell him, Inna lamudrikun. This is ayah 61. But Prophet Musa, in all confidence, says, Kalla, never. Inna ma'iya Rabbi sayahdeen. My Rabb is with me and he'll show me a way. Now, even today, a sea doesn't part. And Jibreel comes to him and tells him, strike the water and say, Ya Allah, Ya Hayyu, Ya Qayyum. And the water parts. Not only does it parts into 12 parts because it didn't want those people to fight. So it bespokes it. Even if they don't know anything but this dua, you've made it because you've got Inna ma'a Rabbi sayahdeen and Ya Allah, Ya Hayyu, Ya Qayyum. I'll send to Shanaz. My daughter's painted a picture that matches the lounge with Inna ma'a Rabbi sayahdeen. So maybe you can encourage them to paint a picture for their lounges or their bedrooms or whatever. But the Ya Hayyu, Ya Qayyum is known as the Ismi A'zam of Asma'ul Husna. Okay. You all know this one, right? Which is a dua of Prophet Ayub. Anni masani yadurru wa anta arhamur rahimin. I have been afflicted. So when you're ill, this dua is just something else. So you can tell them the story of Prophet Ayub. I'm not going to say it because I'm sure you can look it up and you can look it up in the book as well. We've got one dua in here, but it's Amma yujibul muttarra idha da'ahu wa yakshifu su. And because everybody reads that one, and that's Surah number 27, again, Ayah 62, it's a dua of distress, which actually tells a human being that what is happening to you is Allah developing you. He's not punishing you. He's making you greater and he's removing that insecurity in you that you have. So any sort of thing that goes wrong in life is not a punishment as such. It's only a punishment if it's a consequence of what you've done. So for example, if I don't brush my teeth and I get bad teeth, then yes, that is a consequence of what I've done. But everything else is a test that's there to develop. And if you can put it into their heads that something bad happened is not because something they've done. If that was the case, then Sayyidah Zainab would not have gone through so much difficulty, or Imam Hussein, or all the Masumeen. it's one thing that's in the Koji mindset that if I do something wrong, it's because I've done something. Such a wrong mindset that you can take that off and then get this dua, amma yujibul mudtarra idha da'ahu wa yakshifu su, who is the one who answers, the one who is distressed and removes, removes the evil. It could be anything, absolutely anything. It could be my insecurity. Okay, this is a phenomenal amal that they can do when they're stuck. We call it better than alchemy because Ayatollah Khomeini, when he was about 35 years old, he met one of the scholars who's known as Ayatollah Isfahani, I think. So he meets him in the courtyard of the Haram of Imam Rida, and he says, I need you to teach me. Basically, I want to teach you to teach me a magical thing. And I use the word magical. And he teaches him this. And he says, this can change sand into gold. The kids love this. Okay. It's a beautiful amal. So after every wajib salah, ask them to do, makes the impossible possible. Ayatul Kursi, the tasbih, say the Fatima, Ikhlas 3 times, Salawat 3 times, and then 65, 2, and 3. It's all in the book, so don't worry about it. We'll put it all there for you. But basically, it's talking about trust. Trust is quite difficult to talk about. Tawakkul is not an easy subject, but I'm sure you can at least start them off into having to think about it. Dua of Prophet Asya, Rabbi ibn li indaka baytan fil Jannah. You will know that. You can make them draw a house, what sort of house they want in Jannah. It's amazing how they come up with. I've got to tell you a story about a neighbor of mine. I won't give you her name. So when she was 5, she used to come to the Muharram classes, and this is one of the duas we did. And she gave me a piece of paper. I still have it. I wish it's on the wall up there. She gave me a piece of paper, and on the paper she drew her house, and she drew my house, and she put, I think it was 6 houses in between. And she wrote, let's call her Fatima. Fatima's house in Jannah and Umiyante's house in Jannah, and 6 houses. Today she lives with me on my street, 6 houses away. Okay. So a 5-year-old, it's amazing. And I follow her. I'm sure, I hope she'll take me to her Jannah because she's an absolutely phenomenal person. But this is the sort of thing that you need to tell them when you say, Rabbi ibn li indaka baytan fil Jannah. Let them draw their house in Jannah. You all know this, but نحن أقرب إليه من حبل الوريد. He is so close to you. وهو معكم أينما كنتم. This is 57:4. He's with you wherever you are. Even if they whispered, even if they thought those names to Allah, it would come. I go back to my illness when I was on morphine. I didn't say them out loud, but they were in my head. All this that you see here and more, okay? But this comes if you have a bank, if you know them. And obviously the most beautiful of them is salawat, which is Allahumma salli, and please get them to pronounce this properly. Allahumma salli ala Muhammad wa ali Muhammad. What we've put in the book is a beautiful story. I think we have it. It's about the salawat and the bee, and I'll quickly go over it. So the Prophet is sitting with Imam Ali in a garden. It's got lots of trees. A bee circles round them and for some time. And the Prophet says, this bee has told us that he's put some honey for me to be collected by Imam Ali. And Imam went to collect the honey. And the Prophet then addressed the bee and said, you take food from flowers, which is pollen, which is bitter. How do you change it to sweet honey? And the bee said, it's quite simple. I just say salawat. And when I say salawat, that bitterness becomes sweet. So it's really amazing when you tell that to children, they don't forget that story. The last thing on there was istighfar. If you saw in the hadith of Imam Hussein, and I mentioned that to you. But istighfar is also related to 2 things. One is 833, which you see on the screen. And I absolutely adore this ayah. I use it as my passcode, so I never forget 0833. I'll change it now because now you know what my phone passcode is, right? Okay. So it says, وَمَا كَانَ اللَّهُ مُعَذِّبَهُمْ وَهُوَ يَسْتَغْفِرُونَ. Forget about the first part at the moment. The second bit says, Allah will never punish you if you continue to say istighfar. So if you've got these children just saying istighfar all the time and thinking about it, well, you've made it. You've just done it. Sorry, I'm going to go back. The other one of istighfar is Surah An-Nur. So the Imam Ali is sitting with the companions, and one comes up and says, he's got a problem with children, one's got a problem with sustenance, one's come for a problem with different things. And to all of them, he says, do istighfar. And they go away, the companions say, hello. They all came with different requests, and all you said was do istighfar. He said, haven't you read Surah An-Nur? Because in Surah An-Nur, Allah says, if I can remember correctly, فَقُلْتُ فقلت استغفروا ربكم إنه كان غفارا. Do istighfar to your Rabb. He is Ghaffar. And again, you can look at the Asma al-Husna book for that. يرسل السماء عليكم مدرارا. He will bring down rain from the skies. ويمددكم بالأموال وبنين. And he will help you with wealth and sons. ويجعل لكم جنات ويجعل لكم أنهارا. And he will give you Jannah with lots of... And very often the scholars tell us that istighfar is related to sustenance. You're on sustenance with it. And it's a good day to talk about mental, physical, emotional sustenance. Sustenance is not only pound coins. It's being loved, being able to love. It's about having a mental stimulus. It's all sorts of things. So if they want more of that, if they want more stuffs, istighfar all the time. And again, the book has quite a lot in it. I'm trying to see whether there's anything else left. Finally, obviously, on the 9th of Muharram, you will do the A to Z of Ashura. This is on the website. The PowerPoint is available. We'll make sure you get it, or I'll send it to you, and you can talk about on the 9th, especially the concept of Ziyarat Ashura, the concept of freedom, because Imam Hussein is known as Abad Ahrar, the father of freedom. So your concept is to be free of absolutely everything. You can't be addicted to anything or connected to anything. I don't have to go into all this. I'm sure you know all of it. We have a book as well, and I'm sure you've seen it, Ya Hussein. Maybe you will use other marthiyas, entirely up to you. And we have a template. It's a lesson planning template. I suggest you fill one of these for every single day. And Shanaz is much nicer to you, but I would suggest, Shanaz, that you collect these from them, because you can see what the template is like. We've got a QR code and you can download the template from there. But if you have a template and you look at it, then you won't stray and you'll be able to go over it. I make these suggestions to the teachers at workshop, and it tends to help. So you have a focus on what you will do. Right, have you got any questions? Oh, obviously, Ziara. Any questions?